Welcome to the next episode. So we were talking about scheduling items for capturing ideas and then scheduling weekly items. I didn't capture anything for emotional mastery. I wanted to do that. So what we will do in the ideas, for example, we have this idea of reading your values, right? So sometimes people have different values. Okay, I'm a good mother if my husband says this and that, right? I'm a good mother if my kids say this and that, or I'm a good husband if that, right? So sometimes those values are really not in our control. And what is in our control is how we behave, how much effort we put in, and how we do things. So this is where values come in, right? Realizing that things are in control by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well. Realizing that if something strikes us or something reaches us that we are not happy about, this was a choice that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made. If I was running the world, I wouldn't have that happen. So for example, if I'm sick, right? And if I was in charge, I would probably not have myself sick, but I'm not in charge. I didn't do anything wrong. Allah made it happen for me to get sick, and there's a bigger and greater wisdom behind it. Likewise, around certain things that are totally out of your control, such as losing job, losing a car, different relationship breakdowns, and so on and so forth. So these are what I'm calling values, right? It could also be, for example, writing down and reflecting on things I'm grateful for. So these are all ideas right now. So, and then you can label them under emotional mastery. And then you can basically put that in the scheduled list. Now, I know this video is not about basically capturing ideas, but I wanted to get to this because this is very important, right? The way we feel really impacts our hope for the future and our taking the efforts. Because if you're living in anxiety, grief, or fear, or in always in negative emotions or hurt, it will really impact our progress. So we can move that in here. Again, we can put a due date. We can put a repeat cycle. Is it daily, weekly, and what have you. Okay, so now how do we actually execute this? So when you're coming in here, you can actually click on show menu on top right, and again you have filters as well. I mean, you have keyboard shortcuts for everything. So filter cards, okay, and then you will go and say, okay, what is due today, what is overdue, right? And you can, okay, what is due in the next day. So this way you will have a list of things that you need to do today. That's it. So then you don't need to focus on the big areas, you don't need to focus on ideas, you're just focusing on things that you need to get done, right? Obviously, if you really wanted, you can have a different board as well. So you can have a board where you're doing your planning, your ideas, and your accomplishment. And for example, happening weekly could become a separate board as well. So it really depends on how you like to visualize things. We're just trying to make it very simple, so you're not creating multiple boards, but you could do that. So if you want to have different boards to take a look at how week is going, that's fine too. But you can see that these are the things that are due in the next day. And this is, for example, you can see things that are due in a week, things that are due in the month, things that are already overdue, right? So this is something that's already overdue, and other things like that. You can also take a look at, okay, I just want to see my fitness things, right? So right now it's basically filtering on overdue and fitness. So you can maybe check that off, then you will see all the fitness, right? So this is something that you can view as you're progressing through your day. This is something that you can also view when you're having a discussion with a coach. So I hope that makes sense. Now I wanted to show you quickly about the repeat thing. So we will just close that. We'll close the filtering, so now we can see everything. And so if you want to mark this done, you can go click here. So this is now done. Okay, so this is done, and then you can also see that this will get repeated. Next repeat will be December 28th. Right, so it will create a new card for you. You can go here, click mark done, right? So when you do that, you can click mark done, and this would not repeat, right? Now, some of these things, if you don't want to keep them hanging in your board view, you can also basically click and you can archive that thing. So you can click on archive, so it will basically go out of your view. You can delete it as well, but let's say if you just want to archive it, it can go out of your view. If you want to see archived items, you can go back on the menu, and then you can click on more, and then you can click on archived items here, and if you want, you can send it back to the board, right? So just something for if you have a lot of clutter, you can move things around and get rid of them as well. Now, so as you do things, then you can basically create an entry, let's say in your weekly or monthly, achievements. For example, it could be completed a book, and that would be like, in whichever category it is, or read 4 juz, whatever it is for you, you can have that. So you can see that, okay, this week I had 7 days, right? What did I achieve within this week, or this month, what did I actually ended up achieving? And then again, this will all transform into your yearly plan and so on and so forth, right? If you're doing a relationship snapshot, you can also do, for example, this week, how much loved you felt, or how much loved your spouse felt, likewise on respect and different things. So you're cautious about different areas and different things that you want to improve. So basically, this is an overview. Give that a shot. And there are other very good blog posts and about that, and I will put some links in the videos, in the video description, so you can take a look at it, especially if you want to make it a team thing as well. So if you were doing a team thing, for example, these could be like in progress, ideas, things that are on hold, or I'm waiting for other people to complete that. And then each of these things can also be assigned to a team member, right? And then when you're filtering things, then you can take a look at not only by, you can also take a look at things that are assigned to you, right? So right now I haven't assigned anything to myself because this was my board and it wasn't a team thing, right? So everything is unassigned, but that's how you can do it as well. So, and I will quickly show it to you right now, actually, how you would do a team thing if you wanted to, right? So that if you have, again, it helps you with your team productivity. So if I go in, for example, my podcast, so here I'm noting down, so I have a technical issues list, and I have a list of episodes that I have to record. As I record an episode, I basically move it into recorded podcast, right? So I take it and I move it here, okay? And then you can see that I have assigned it to somebody else, right? So we have assigned it to a different team member, right? Who's going to be taking it over from there. And we also have a checklist of what we want to do. Here's a summary of the podcast, and we have a checklist of different things that needs to be done. So this is the concept of checklist, right? So you can assign, and then once it's done, then it will be moved on to the next stage, and then it's all complete, right? So basically, we can then have if we are doing our weekly meeting dashboard, we can see, okay, where things are, how things have moved forward, where they're stuck. So if you go in here, we can also filter cards by, we're not using labels, as you see. We can filter cards by what's due, what's assigned to me, right, and so on and so forth. And even if you have multiple boards, you can actually go in and take a look at what things that are due for you across different boards. So let's say if you're working on a multiple project, you have a podcast project, you have your personal projects, your personal development, and you have, let's say, work. So you can see all those sort of thing by going on boards. So if you go back on the board view, then you can basically take a look at here, and you can actually search all cards. So this search feature is quite powerful. So if I want to see, for example, things that are due on a team member, I can just put his name, right? And then I can see things that are due on him, right? So if I put in my name, that you, so it will show me all things that are due on me, right? And I can also save this search, and I can also say, okay, and due due day is basically in the next 2 hours. So I'm saying, okay, things that are assigned to Zubair and they're due in the next hour, the next day. I can also do due in the next week, and I can also do that are past due dates, right? So this will show me. Okay, so the reason it's not showing me, because if you remember, I have not assigned my personal cards to myself. That's why it's not showing me here. But let me just quickly do that. So if I were to go back in here and I would to take this, for example, and assign it. Okay, so now I have assignment, so I can go back here and I can take a look at, okay, what's due. So I say, or I would say at Zubair and due cards that are incomplete. So this is showing me everything that's incomplete, right? Across different boards. So you can see it's coming from a podcast board, it's coming from the board that we were working on, any other board as well. And then I can say, okay, at me, right? So this is now showing you things that are incomplete and due on me as well. So again, you have a lot of things that you can basically play around with here. If you go on, for example, you can look at has attachment, has a label, right? So you can, for example, click hash, and then you can use a label as well. Okay, so yeah, we'll leave it at that. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different features that can potentially be used, or you can really keep it simple and just work from a board view. So I hope that makes sense. Give it a shot. Or again, you can always do it in pen and paper, traditional style as well. So until next time, Assalamu alaikum.